Hey guys, welcome to the Liberal Hive Mind, a channel solely focused on exposing the abundant hypocrisy of the left. Every single news outlet is reporting on what's going on in Arizona with Kari Lake the exact same way. Judge dismisses 8 out of 10 of Kari Lake's claims in court, and that includes Fox News reporting the same exact way. All the mainstream outlets, as usual, pushing the narrative instead of the fact that Kari Lake continues to do something historic. You can cope all you want as a leftist and say the whole thing's a nothing burger. There's nothing there. There's no there. But at the end of the day, as I stated, that's cope because Kari Lake continues to present witnesses who are Arizona election officials who keep hitting us with absolute bombshells. Yesterday, we covered the issue of the 19-inch ballots, where a Maricopa County election official essentially confirmed that the misprinting of these ballots, which caused issues with the tabulators, could not have been a glitch or an issue. It had to have been done manually. That wasn't a big enough bombshell on its own. Well, the second claim, the issue of chain of custody issues, well, once again, Kari Lake brings the receipts. As it turns out that once again, she makes a credible point. Is she going to be able to prove it absolutely and make the claim, an irrefutable claim that it had enough of an impact to alter the results significantly enough to actually change the outcome? That we don't know, and I maintain it's an uphill battle. But completely omitting that, Kari Lake continues to expose the incompetent county officials running an absolutely flawed system. Let me show you guys exactly what's going on. With the newest Kari Lake lawsuit update, we got some stuff to get into, so let's roll the tape. Alright folks, take a look at this right over here from the Post-Millennial. Kari Lake trial. Expert testifies both Runbeck and Maricopa County failed to follow legal requirements for chain of custody. On Wednesday, Arizona gubernatorial candidate Kari Lake's election lawsuit went to trial. Among the experts called forth by Lake's legal team was professional investigator Heather Honey. Honey went over statements given to her by a number of individuals in the Maricopa County election process and claims that legal requirements for chain of custody were not followed. Here's the tweet from Kari Lake on Twitter. Chain of custody expert on both Runbeck and Maricopa County. Quote, they weren't following the legal requirements for chain of custody.
When the ballots were received back from the drop boxes. And her concern was that specifically the seals were being removed from the transport containers, and the ballots inside were not counted. That was a requirement as she understood it, and the fact that they were just taking those ballots out of the transport containers without counting them was her primary concern.
And then, okay, so we have two different people you have spoken to working in two different places, correct?
Correct.
One's here at Runbeck, the third-party vendor, and one's here at McTech, right?
Correct.
MCTech?
Mm-hmm.
All right. And both of them are both telling you that there is no chain of custody on Election Day for ballots being transported from MCTech to Runbeck. Is that correct?
Correct. They weren't following the legal requirements for chain of custody. So there were seals on the containers when they transported them, but the specific issues were that they were just cutting them open, taking the ballots out, putting them in trays without regard to how many, and there was no documentation. There were handbags and purses where they were processing the ballots. That was
That right there, folks, is another massive bombshell. Now again, is that enough to achieve a massive legal victory in this lawsuit for Kari Lake? I'm not exactly sure, but we keep seeing the exact same trend coming out of Maricopa County. Absolute sheer incompetence and a total disrespect and disregard for the legal process, conducting this process effectively, efficiently, and with the proper safety parameters. If you ask me, it's an absolute disgrace. You know, I'm seeing all kinds of lefties in the Twitter responses, totally dismissing all of the claims, but so far what we have learned is absolutely damning. And if you're being honest and you take a step back and look at the totality, none of it is acceptable. It is unacceptable. And frankly, regardless of what side you're on, unjustifiable to claim that what's going on here is somehow normal. It's not normal that on Election Day, when Republicans are expected to come vote in droves, when there's already massive lines in the sweltering heat repeat for a major chunk of ballots to be printed incorrectly, causing the tabulators to reject them, causing absolute mayhem on election day, and seriously extending the wait time for people who are out there voting on actual election day. That's not normal, that's not acceptable, regardless of what side you're on. It's not a partisan issue, it's an issue of incompetence and potential corruption. And then you add on top of that a total disregard for security and chain of custody, ballots being handled willy-nilly. Then add on top of that Maricopa County and Arizona in general takes over a week to tabulate the final results. The system is absolutely broken, and there is no argument that can ever convince me that it isn't. It is absolutely unacceptable to run a system so poorly, especially not when you're talking about some of the most consequential elections imaginable. 2 million votes. There were barely more than 2 million votes to be tabulated. It took a week. Meanwhile, in Florida, they had to count nearly 8 million votes, and they were done by 9 p.m. I'm exaggerating a little bit, but you get the point. And that's why not only was the election consequential, but that's why this lawsuit is so consequential. Chain of custody was broken, and we have an expert witness on record under oath testifying that that was in fact the case. And according to Heather Honey, who's a 30-year plus expert and an investigator of these kinds of issues, ballots that break chain of custody regulations are technically invalid. And that's where we get this absolutely epic moment from the trial where Katie Hobbs' defense tries to get a slam dunk, but instead they get blocked and dunked on.
So I'm going to ask you a legal question, but you only have to answer if you have an understanding about it. If you don't have an understanding, it's perfectly fine to say, I don't know. Are you aware that under Arizona law, a ballot is not actually unlawful if it is, the term that's used sometimes is harvested or ballot collection, but if somebody who is not authorized to handle it deposits it, or like what happened at Runback, if somebody brings it and inserts it into the stream, but not into a designated authorized drop box. Are you aware that under Arizona law that is not actually an unlawful ballot?
I think the term in the law is an invalid ballot.
Okay. Just 1 minute, Your Honor.
Mm-hmm.
No more questions. Thank you very much, Ms. Honey.
Okay.
That's Katie Hobbs' professional legal defense. No further question, followed by an embarrassing walk of shame away from the podium. Not exactly a vote of confidence in the arguments discrediting this witness testimony. And that's exactly the point that I keep making here. This isn't a partisan issue. We're seeing legitimate issues being flagged. And stuff that's significant. I mean, the Democrats are constantly going on and on about democracy, but here we go. Real issues presented when it comes to the democratic process. Significant issues that are having a shockwave effect that's negatively affecting cultural and social cohesion. It's causing division. People are losing trust, but apparently we can't get Democrats to the table. They'll continue to block their ears, close their eyes, ignore absolutely everything, regardless of how credible it is, because the issue only matters if it negatively impacts them. Absolute partisans. There are some real concerns here, some real issues. Frankly, I'd even argue back-to-back massive bombshells, and it's time to have a serious conversation. Potential disenfranchising of Republican voters on election day, a total disregard for chain of custody practices, and just in general, overall, an absolutely terrible, irredeemable, indefensible system, a broken system that clearly must be dismantled and fixed. Kari Lake continues to lead the charge. That's what I got for you guys, though. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, make sure to leave a like and possibly subscribe to the channel. I'm gonna get out of here. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.